Welcome back to episode 3 of Off the Cuff Podcast. I'm joined by Sasha Wood, aka Shipper's Guide to the Galaxy.
Hi everyone. I had to really resist the urge to not wave there. That was what that pause was.
You can wave because this is going on YouTube. People will see you. But for those that aren't watching on YouTube,
I waved. So
yeah,
hello.
Now you know. So for those that don't know, you have a YouTube channel called Shipper's Guide to the Galaxy.
I do indeed.
Tell us all about it.
Okay, so for those not in the know, which many people aren't, because it is very much a niche subculture still, even though more people talk about it, which is a double-edged sword. It's a positive and a negative. Mm-hmm. But shipping is basically the process wherein fans take the source material or canon and extrapolate upon it, oftentimes in a romantic context. Okay. Meaning they take some of their favorite characters who they feel have chemistry or just the plot is not doing them right, and they decide that they're going to create their own works. They're going to draw fan art. They're going to write fan fiction. They're just going to extrapolate upon it. In recent years, it's come to be dubbed as transformative fan fiction or transformative works. So.
Right. Okay. So that, like, an example would be the brothers in Supernatural.
Oh yeah, Wincest was huge until Cass showed up, and then Destiel took that over. Supernatural is an interesting show because they had such a weird relationship with fan fiction, going from very much mocking it to kind of accepting it. So you can almost chart fan fiction's course in the mainstream through how they react to it on the show.
Oh my gosh. See, I didn't know about fan fiction for a long time, and then the first time I found it, I just went to, like, what is the number one trending fan fiction? And it was Supernatural, and I clicked on the first one, and it was like, his brother turned to him in bed and reached over and grabbed him, and I was like, what the fuck is this fan fiction? Is this all fan fiction? And then I never went near it again until I started working with you guys, and then I feel like you and Cassie made me more accepting of fan fiction, so I went back into it, and I've never looked back. I read fan fiction every day.
I read fan fiction most days too.
Yeah.
It's very much a rabbit hole that you can just fall down.
It's so bad. Like, Kelly will get on me because I'm on my phone all the time, but for the most part, it's like I'm not on social media. I'm just reading fanfic.
Do you read it in public?
Yeah.
In public with the fan fiction?
Sometimes if I'm waiting for something to transfer at work, I'm whipping out fanfic.
Do you hold it close, or do you...
It's close to my heart, yes. I'm not ashamed if someone catches me, but I do have this fear that, like, someone like Liam, who we work with, would turn around and just be like, Lucy, what are you reading? But thankfully it just looks like a long paragraph, so he's not going to see.
You'd have to get real close
and then be like, details. Oh, you're reading a Riverdale fan fiction. Not that Liam would ever know. Thank God. Who are your favorite ships at the moment?
At the moment, I'm glad you phrased it that way, because people on my channel actually always ask me, what's your favorite ship? And I don't particularly have one, because I cycle through different pairings and fandoms, because I'm just a fan of so many different things.
Yeah.
Right now, at the time of this recording, it's Good Omens, pretty much. The Ineffable Husbands on Good Omens. They're a classic pairing that's having a bit of a renaissance because of the Amazon adaptation.
Right, okay.
But people started shipping them since the book came out in 1990, so...
I actually never heard of Good Omens. Is that Neil Gaiman?
Mm-hmm. Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett.
Oh, I'll have to read it. I saw the trailer for it's Amazon, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw the trailer. It looks pretty good, but I didn't know people were shipping that.
Oh, it's intense. And the best thing is there's different stuff in the show than the book, because Neil Gaiman said, and I quote, he didn't want the book readers to get too cocky about what was in it. So.
Shots fired. Jeez. Fair enough. I'll have to check that out. Okay, an appearance from Bucky right now. My favorite ship at the moment is, have you watched Killing Eve?
I haven't, but it's on my list because I've seen the fan vids and stuff from it.
Yeah, my favorite pairing is Villanelle and Eve. It's the best thing that's ever happened. Villanelle. Is that
that's their ship name?
Oh, I just googled Villanelle and Eve fanfic. Read what I can. So good. And also, I'm very much looking forward to the next phase of the MCU, so I can get Captain Marvel and Valkyrie.
All of your femslash.
I just need it to be true. Do you think it's going to be true?
I don't know. I'm not really sure where they're going. I'm not sure if they're sure where they're going, as they like to pretend they are.
Yeah.
The golden era, though, of like MCU fan fiction and stuff was very much 2012 to 2014.
What, so with like Cap and
not so much that it was stony and
Okay.
Stucky, which came later, but more
Yeah.
so that there was a really cheerful atmosphere and like lots of domestic fare. Everybody was like, oh, the team is best friends and they have movie nights and they hang out. And it was just all these really fun, positive fics. And then Civil War happened and it was like they hate each other, pick a side, team Cap, team like...
Oh yeah, let's talk about Civil War because I've never known anything to trigger you more. Like, you're such a calm and collected person until Civil War gets brought up and you, like, lose it.
I don't... Which one? Like the comic one or the movie?
No, the MCU.
The MCU one, is, in my opinion, is so poorly executed.
Yeah.
And the effect that it had in fandom, I think, ricochets into how I view it. Because it
Okay.
very much was a divisive moment that some people never got out of. And some people are still in those camps to this day.
Oh my god. See, I'm just happy, like, watching the MCU and taking it for what it is. I'm really just in the MCU for Black Widow and Scarlet Witch, but R.I.P. Black Widow. And
Spoiler.
yeah,
Oh my
I mean,
God.
if that's a spoiler, you should have watched Endgame years ago at this point. So, have you always wanted to do YouTube?
Not necessarily. I kind of just fell into YouTube because I always enjoyed editing.
Okay.
And so I discovered YouTube through my love of editing. I was
Right.
on there and I found all those fan videos all the way back in, gosh, like 2009 or
Oh
something.
my gosh.
And I was looking and I was like, oh, this is so cool. I love this. And then I was
Yeah.
like, my computer has a movie maker. I can do this. So I started making fan videos and I had a page
Nice.
and I uploaded I had like 100 or so fan vids that I made.
Do you remember what your first fan vid was?
My first fan vid, yes, it was a Deanna Troi and Riker fan vid to the song "Am I the Same Girl?" I swing out, sister.
Oh my god. That's the best thing ever. To be fair, I can't laugh too hard because I feel like once this is new information to Kelly, who's looking at me quite nervously. I once tried to make a fan video but got bored and didn't want to commit to it. And it was for, I'm pretty sure it was Lost Girl. And it was Bo and Tamsin, my favourite ship, who never have I seen a couple so poorly written. It was like they worked the show, the final season. Did you watch Lost Girl?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so essentially, Bo had her endgame love called Lauren. It was fine. Like, I didn't like Lauren. Not here for it. She was doctor, whatever. And Kelly, of course, loves Lauren. That's very much her type. Tamsin, however, is like this badass Valkyrie, like amazing. And she's like cold and hard, but deep down, she's got a heart. Anyway. Yeah, that's me. It just sums me up. Anyway, fans shipped them as soon as Tamsin was in. And then obviously the writers saw what was happening and they were like, okay, we need to play into this. So by the time season 4 and 5 came around, they started writing more scenes together. They made them like get it on, have sex, whatever. And then finally, like season 5, they just rewrote Tamsin as a character and was like, now she's all soft and really wants to be her girlfriend and making her all mushy. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And then they kill her. Spoiler. Sorry.
So many spoilers in this episode.
But anyway, that's like, that triggers me like Civil War triggers you. Like, it's the most frustrating thing. But that was my first almost fan edit. But anyway, back to what you were saying about YouTube.
No, and so from there, I actually used my fan editing to get my first editing job. I
Nice.
sent in samples of some of the stuff I'd done, and they liked it. And
Amazing.
I started editing weddings. And
Did
then I just kind of lucked into getting a job with Landon and Leroy.
That's
and then
amazing.
Since then, I've worked on YouTube. So
Never looked back. So how long have you been at Fandom Productions now?
probably 6, coming up on 7 years.
That's amazing. Were you one of the first?
Was the first.
You were the first. Sasha's the OG. Sasha's the best. What, if you had to pick between Stoney and Stucky, who would you pick?
I would pick Stoney, honestly.
Wow.
Yeah, I would pick Stoney. Stucky has a very firm foundation within
Yeah.
the film verse, but I'm a bit more of a comic book fan, and
Okay.
so for me there's more of a history there with Stoney, and you can do a really fun blend of the comic canon and the film canon of them together. So you get some really
Interesting.
interesting works where people are bringing in stuff that's never going to be brought into the MCU. And just all the stuff that they went through that they never portrayed, because honestly in the MCU they're not portrayed as friends. People can pretend all they want, but they were never friends. I know that commercial, like, so was I, like, never. No. But in the comic verse they were so close, and he helped him with his cancer and his alcoholism and all of that stuff.
He had cancer?
Yes.
Tony?
Yeah.
Oh, he's been through the ringer, hasn't he?
Everybody's been through the ringer in comics.
Oh my god.
No happiness.
Poor guy. Do you think Phase 4 is going to be good or bad?
I think it depends on whether or not Endgame was a bookend for you. If Endgame felt like a conclusion to the arcs of the characters you cared about, I think there's going to be a natural disconnect with the next phase, which some might interpret as it not being good, and maybe for some it won't be, but it really depends. And also because they're going to dive into more of the characters that people aren't as familiar with, or true. Comic fans aren't as attached to, so you're gonna get that kind of comic book fan, more film versus fan divide, because the MCU is so big now that you do very much have a fan base that's established entirely upon the MCU itself.
See, I think it's gonna be hard for me because I see Endgame as a bookend, but what if I had it my way? Once Endgame happened, you don't see those characters again. If I had it my way, Spider-Man wouldn't be Far From Home. Just because, like, I just want the characters that we've known and come to love, I want them gone now that Endgame is gone. Like, that should be, their story's been told. Let's get a new group in.
See, my thing is, I think Spider-Man's essential. I think he needs to be the new flagship character because Tom Holland is young and he can carry the franchise for at least another decade. And from a pragmatic standpoint, you need someone who's also going to draw in younger fans because we're all aging. And so you need people who's going to be like the new heartthrob for, you know, the young people.
That's true. I also feel like Brie Larson's doing that, though, as well, with, like, young girls.
I think she is, but she's a less recognizable character. Kevin Feige keeps very much trying to pull the whole, like, Captain Marvel's been around forever, but really she's only been Captain Marvel since 2012. And before that, she was much more noticeable as Miss Marvel. And even then, her story arcs in those who are fans of comics aren't that large. And so if you look to a character like Spider-Man, who is their most popular character, so much that he can exist entirely by himself, I think they'd be foolish to throw him away.
Ooh, well, that's a shot at me.
Not.
No, I do understand he is an essential character. It's just, I think it's just going to be hard going in to the next phase with some characters and then not others. Like, because my favorite characters are gone. My favorite character was Black Widow, and of course, like, she dropped.
I just don't know why they're being so hard on the she's 100% dead. Because people are like, she could be a clone, she could come back. And they're like, no, she's dead. And I'm like, why are you like this?
It's like, what happened behind the scenes? They never falling out. Like, she could come back. I mean, what, she came back, she had a clone in the comics?
Yeah, in the clone, okay, so in the comics, Hydra Cap killed her. And so then they brought her back as a clone that had always been there in the Red Room, which they implanted with her memories. Ooh. And so then she took on the original Black Widow persona and told Hawkeye to leave her alone, but told the Winter Soldier he could come follow her. So
I like that story. That's the story I want. What I want told, though, well, which we're not going to get now, unless it's in her prequel, is I want more Natasha and Bucky.
Yeah, I was really... I thought that they were... I actually did an update video.
Oh, yeah?
Talking about those two and how some feel it's a missed opportunity because that scene in Civil War when they're fighting and she's like, the least you could do is recognize me. And people were like, oh, from the Red Room. And then someone commented they were so mad. They were like, that's just because they fought in the Winter Soldier. Stop looking for things that aren't there. And I'm like,
whoa, savage.
Well, that's the most common comment you'll find about shipping. Like, I'm sure you've seen it. Like, stop looking for things that aren't there. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing
we need something. We need joy. That's what we want. We just want to find love in something.
No, I actually really enjoy the, like, really scandalized comments that I get.
Oh my god. What's the most, well, according to your fans, what's the most controversial video you've done? Or one that's received probably the most backlash, shipping-wise?
Thorgy. 100% Thorgy. I didn't even need to think about it.
I mean, I see why. what kind of responses did you get on that video?
Their brother. This is incest. What's wrong with you?
Did you?
But it's not.
Oh, Kelly's got some comments from off camera. Yeah, they're not really related, are they?
They're not, but then people got triggered. They're like, you are dismissing adoptive siblings, and
wow,
it was a thing. But it never bothers me because in my videos, I always make sure to talk about both the pros and the cons of why people like it. Like, it's different from the other shipping channels, I think, and then a lot of them are either bashing it or very much like, I love it and this is why.
Yeah.
So that's part of why I started it, because when I got into ships back in the day, LiveJournal was really big, and so there were a lot of shipping manifestos which I would check out all the time, where people would go and be like, I like this character together with this one because da 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 da, but there wouldn't be an opposite. And then you'd go to the other side and be like, I hate them because da-da-da-da. And I was like, you know, it would be great to have these two together for someone who is just confused as to what is happening in the first place.
Yeah, it's good to be objective about things. See both sides. What is your view on the shipping fandom? Do you think it's toxic? Well, I guess you're in it, so it's hard to say because it's also like your community, but...
I think it varies from fandom to fandom.
Okay.
Each fandom is unique, and they're all different, and they all have different things going on because they attract different sorts of individuals. Okay. What I think has happened is with the rise of the sort of fandom-based like media with all of the blogs. Well, okay, I'm going to call them blogs, and they're going to get mad, but the blogs essentially where people just talk about, I watched this show and I love this, but it's on an actual like news site.
Yeah.
There's a hyper focus on the negativity because that gets clicks. Like, you're not going to get clicks with like, wow, everybody really loves the Ineffable Husbands and they're all really nice to each other. Like, that, what kind of article is that?
True. Yeah.
You're going to get clicks when the Voltron fans are literally blackmailing the staff. So,
that's true. Very
true.
Like,
there's a focus on the really negative elements. And the thing is, when the negative elements get loud, they get really loud. But what's really frustrating is that happens across the board. Like, never forget the Rick and Morty sauce, you know, and the people on the counters. And but for some reason, that doesn't get the same level of focus as with shipping, because there's still that undercurrent of, if you ship, there's something wrong with you. Like, you're weird, you're obsessed. Why can't you let it go? Why do you care what the characters do? Like, you don't own them. Recently, because I did a video on Ineffable Husbands, there was someone who had actually tweeted at Neil Gaiman, and they were like, what's your opinion on fan fiction? I think it's a huge insult to the author. You're saying to them that their story wasn't good enough and you have to do it your way. And he replied, I won a Hugo Award for a piece of fan fiction. Yes, so I'm for it.
It's true. I've heard about this. What was the fan fiction?
He said it was an H.P. Lovecraft / Sherlock Holmes fanfic.
I need to read that. I love H.P. Lovecraft. But to be fair, like, sometimes I can understand where people are coming from, because it's definitely a perspective I used to have before I got into it, where it was like very much like...
I 100% understand it, because there is the assumption, and some fans do, like, we can't lie about it, that you want to change the canon, that you're saying, I hate this, and you need to make it like my way. And some people are, but most people aren't. They're just saying either... I want something to happen that isn't happening, or maybe I'm a little bit dissatisfied, so I'm going to find this space to explore these things. Yeah. And that's what you'll find the vast majority of people are doing. A lot of times when they're like, we want this to be canon, a lot of people are saying it in good fun. Like, yeah, it would be great, but if it doesn't happen, not everybody is proprietary. But that depends, again, on the type of fandom you're in. Like, especially if you're in a younger fandom, like Voltron's a good example of this, where it was some people's first ship. There was very much a passion.
Right. So... why do you think shipping has become bigger over the last few years? Because for me, like, I was aware of it, but I feel like only the last few years I see it everywhere. Like, I see fanfic everywhere. But is it social media, or is just people more open to it now?
No, a few things have happened. There was a digital renaissance after the 90s and after Tumblr, actually, where the idea shifted from individualized fan sites and fan forums, where it's like, I like Buffy, so we're going to go talk about Buffy here, to the idea of consolidated sites like fanfiction.net, LiveJournal, and AO3. AO3 is the big one that came to rescue all of the poor people kicked off of fanfiction.net during the purge. So
there was a purge.
There was a purge. Fanfiction.net in about, when was it? Like the late 2000s and a bit earlier, they purged their smut. They went through a huge smut purge. They were like, no smut, and especially no queer smut. Get it off. And so they banned everything. And so AO3 is very much created as a response to you can post anything. Like, we will accept all of your work over here, which is part of why it's so popular and part of why it has such a really intricate tagging system and exclusion system. You can pretty much find or exclude anything you want on there.
That's amazing.
And it's so easy to join, which I think is helpful.
Yeah.
And because of that and the increased awareness and that people just have a space to go. Like, if you look up fan fiction now, like, the first thing you're going to find is one of these sites. And because you do have more people talking about it, I think it's less strange or less weird, and it's easier to come across, which is both a good and a bad thing.
That's true. What are your thoughts on writers on TV shows incorporating like fan fiction ideas into their shows? Because I feel like sometimes shows do that.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
100% do.
So do you agree with them doing that? I know some people get really triggered by it, where they're like, oh, this is just a piece of fan fiction now. You're giving the fans what they want. And it's like...
I think it depends on whether they are hiding it or not. I'm not a fan of when they're like, we've never heard of it. What's fan fiction, you know? And they so clearly are like taking an exact plot. Yeah. I think that conversation expands even bigger, though, than just shipping, the whole giving fans what they want. Because there are some people who have come to feel that fandom is very entitled. And that if you don't like everything about a work, then you're not a real fan. Like, if you have any complaint about anything, then you're not a fan, which of course is not true. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to see certain pieces of fan service. Like, it goes both ways, though, because then you have people who are like, I'm entitled. And it's like, well, no, you're not entitled either.
Yeah.
So it's like you're walking on this tightrope, and it's a very hard road to walk, and very few people walk it successfully.
Good point. So what videos do you have coming up on your channel? Can you tell us, or do you keep it a secret?
It's not a secret. I'm just slow. So it takes me a while to edit. I'm going to do some more Ineffable Husband stuff. I laid the groundwork with the history, so now we can just dive into the pairing itself. It's amazing. 17 minutes. We're going to get there.
Oh boy.
I always have my videos that people vote for on my Patreon, which is a lot of fun because we get to cover some ships that we mightn't otherwise.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of go with the flow. Like,
you do a lot of gaming, don't you now?
I do. I did because I had more time.
True. I liked when you did was it Dream Daddy?
Yes. Dream Daddy was some of the best fun we had. It's not the best streams because those were adults, but it's fine.
What games do you want to do on your channel when you have the time?
I have a whole library full of dating sims that I've actually downloaded, and I'm just waiting for the chance to do. There's a couple of really cool vampire ones that were in demo and stuff. I also like to do demos and Kickstarters so that people can hopefully get funded and get their games made. That's a good idea
to get it out there.
Because there's so many cool things. I really love itch.io, which is a fantastic spot for indie game makers, and they put their stuff up there and they get it tested, and you can give them feedback right away, and they're all really friendly. Like, it's a really good space.
That's really great. What was the you played another game recently as well? What was it? Gay farming?
Oh, Morning Dew Farm? a gay farming dating sim?
Yes. I knew I was right. I thought I made it up for a second.
I'm so excited. They hit their Kickstarter goals and stretch goals.
So it's happening.
It's happening.
The gay farmers will come.
Yes, and they made To Trust an Incubus, which is 100% an adult game. If you're not an adult, don't look it up. But you know what? It was a lot of fun. They put tons of effort into the animations. They get like full voice actors, actual voice actors from the industry too. Like, amazing. They had some of the voice actors from Persona 5, so...
Oh, wow, look at them.
Serious business.
I want to play some more dating games. The last one I think we played was the pigeon one?
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can never pronounce it, though.
Yeah, I don't... I mean, I don't want to even try because it'll be offensive in some way. But yeah, you date as pigeons. Or, no, it's not even just pigeons. It's different types of birds.
Different types of birds, and you're the only human.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
because
I thought we were...
Humans have been wiped out by a virus.
Okay. I thought we were also a bird. Good to know. You're a human and you're trying to hook up with a bird.
I'm super excited for another one that's coming soon. Office Supply, where you date personified office supplies. I'm so excited.
I love this. I love this new trend where it's just humans dating weird shit. Like, great. Bring it on. So I'm going to ask you some questions that we got from some viewers on Twitter. Chauncey Sheeran Jr. said, what do you do in your free time?
What do I do in my free time? I have very little free time.
You do.
I don't have a lot of free time at all. When I do have a spare moment, I like to save it for something special for me and Mr. Shipper, where we get to do
Mr. Shipper, I love that.
Where we maybe get to watch a show we've been waiting for, or I get to tackle a book or an audiobook that I haven't had time to do. But mostly I do just bounce between like work and the channel, but the channel doesn't feel like work to me, so it's fun.
That's good. That's important. Have you read any good books in a while?
It's The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and it was such a good book. It was about this young journalist who gets the opportunity to interview this golden age Hollywood actress who's a bit of a recluse, and she's been married 7 times. So of course she's like, ooh, I want to know like who was the great love of her life? Like which of these 7 guys was it? And it turns out the great love of her life, this isn't a spoiler because it happens really early on, was her female co-star.
Oh. Okay, Lucy, future Lucy, you're buying that book. That's very much a book for me. And Kelly, I'll read it aloud to you at night. Into it. Devo1919 says, who's your celebrity crush?
A celebrity crush?
Do you have one?
Not really. I mean, I used to when I was younger. Like, I would have celebrity crushes. Like, when I was young, I was super into Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I just thought he was the greatest things that sliced bread.
He is great. That's what I feel right now. It's like, I have people I obsess over, like, shows. So I guess I like the people in them. Like, I always loved Gillian Anderson. Big
She's
fan.
great.
I think my new obsession is... oh my god, of course I'm blanking on her name. Jodie Comer from Killing Eve. She plays Villanelle. She's my new favorite person. Oh no! Oh, why am I forgetting? Of course, my new favorite person is Logan Browning from the new Netflix original film. The oh my god, why am I blanking? What's the film? The Perfection. Oh my god, I'm blanking because there's a camera on me. I literally spoke about it today. I put it in a whole
you were talking
video.
about it
I'm
all
like,
day.
any person I see, I'm like, oh my god, have you watched The Perfection yet? Honestly, like, it's the best film I've watched in so long. Kelly, you can agree with this, right? So good. Sasha, you need to watch it. Like, it's gay and it's gory. Actually, a few people complained about the film because they said they... You're so intrigued.
I love when people complain.
I know. They said they vomited while watching it. I will say there are some triggering scenes and it's like quite jarring when you see them, but at the same time I don't know why people threw it up, but it's...
Well, some people are very sensitive, you know.
True.
During the
There is, okay, without spoiling anything, there was a moment where someone throws up bugs, which, you know, I could see people not being okay with that.
I'd be okay with that. Have you ever seen Antiviral?
No, I don't think I've seen that.
It's a film by Cronenberg's son. And the whole thing about it is that the celebrity culture has become so commodified that people actually infect themselves with celebrity illnesses. And so just the entire movie, he's just like slowly dying of this horrible illness. So
oh my god, I need to see that.
It was actually really good.
Crave, I made us put it on our list because I want to watch
It's on Crave?
It's really good.
I know what we're watching tonight. What's the most disturbing film you've ever seen?
The most disturbing film?
Yeah.
I don't know. The bar is pretty high. Like, I've seen some stuff.
Have you seen a Serbian film?
I have seen a Serbian film.
That's the most disturbing film I've ever seen.
I'm trying to think. I feel like I've been more disturbed.
Oh.
But I can't remember when or why.
I wish I could talk about it, but that's too much for a podcast. Like, all you need to do is look it up and you'll see why. That's a shock. Wow.
Yeah, no, I feel like there was one where, like, I sat through it, but I was really upset the entire time, and I was just like...
That's how I felt when I watched... It wasn't even that disturbing, but that's how I felt when I watched Dancer in the Dark. Where I was like, this is a good film, but I'm just so upset. Like, it just hurt me watching, like, physically. And, like, even looking back on the film, it felt like it traumatized me. I was just so sad.
There's a Danish film called Mother that really upset me. Like, that it's a horror film, and I was just like, by the end, I was just like, I can never watch this again. It was good, but I can never watch it again.
It's also like the American film Mother.
But was that good?
Oh, I think we're just upset. Although, to be fair, when I watched that, I watched it long after it came out, and I'd heard everybody's criticisms about it. So I went in with the lowest of expectations. And for the first half, I will say I enjoyed it because I think I got what they were doing. I felt uneasy. I felt anxious.
Yeah.
Exactly how they wanted me to feel. I was stressed out. But as soon as the transition happens in the film, where they go and then they come back and then it descends into madness, that's when it lost me. And the baby, there's a lot that, just the baby. If you haven't seen it, watch it for the baby.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
What's the most upset you've ever been in fandom?
Most upset I've ever been in fandom.
Yeah, like have you ever been in a situation where you're in a fandom or shipping or something and you're just like, I need out, like, it's over?
So, like, I'm upset because of the fandom itself, or something happens in, like, a show that upsets me and I want out. And I want out of it.
Because I've had a couple of things where actually it went around in a circle, and I actually found it difficult to watch the show again.
Because of the fandom.
Because I knew what was waiting for me. You know, I was like, I know what's going to happen when I go into this fandom, and it's going to be a mess.
Interesting. Okay. I would say maybe... I think I got that way with Lost Girl after everything that happened on the show, and then in the fandom, people got angry when everything happened in the season 5. And then it kind of ruined the show for me. And then it ruined the fandom, because not only could I not have them anymore in the show, but then people in the fandom were angry. And then I didn't even enjoy the fanfic anymore. So I kind of left it behind, and I don't go near Lost Girl anymore. And it's sad, because I enjoyed that show so much, and it was an important part of my life. And a nugget of information. That's the reason I moved back to Canada, was because of, like, Lost Girl. It inspired me, and I wanted to, like, work in film and do... edit TV shows, and I wanted to, like, work on that and then do stuff like that, and it's inspired a lot of stuff that I've written in the past, and now I can't even go near it, which is sad, because it's like so it's just ruined it. But other than that, I don't think I've ever had, like, a bad experience with fandom. And I also, I'm someone that, like, I'm in and out pretty quick, because I'm so not flaky, but that's a word to describe me. I just move on really quickly from things. I get so obsessed. Like, I could be obsessed with something today and obsessed with something tomorrow. Like, I think the fandom I'm in hardcore at the moment is Riverdale. Yeah. Shock, you know that. Everyone knows that knows me. Shoney, that's all I care about. But I also feel like it's not going to last much longer.
You can feel it, right? You can always feel when it's coming to an end.
No, like, there's something tugging at me where
there's just that the interest is waning a little bit. Yeah. It's like, I don't need to open my phone and go to AO3 instantly right now.
No, exactly. And it's kind of sad, and I don't know if it's because there's a pause in the show at the moment and I'm waiting for the next season, or if I know that when season 4 comes around, they are probably going to break up. And that's what I feel like. I know that's what's going to happen in the show.
And you're not ready.
So it's making, I'm not ready, and I don't want to be hurt. So I want, to disconnect myself and, like,
before it even.
Yeah, because if I'm fully in it and that happens, then I'm going to be devastated. So I'm trying to move on, which I think is why I'm so into Killing Eve at the moment, and why I'm so obsessed with the perfection. But yeah, Have you ever had that where you're just, like, so deep in fandom, and then you're like...
It was a vicarious experience for me.
Okay.
And it was with Voltron. And I'm pretty sure my fans guessed it, because the Voltron fandom got very ugly. It was one of the ugliest fandoms I've ever seen at its worst. At its best, it was beautiful and brilliant, and it still is, but at its worst, it was some of the ugliest stuff I've ever seen. And because I was researching and in it, I talked to a lot of people. Yeah. And one of the series I was planning on doing... I didn't do it because of this, was interviewing fanfic authors of big fics, like the big mega fics in fandom that shape how people view things. Yeah. And there was this author of the big mega fandom fic in Voltron, which was called Dirty Laundry. It was one of the big ones. And just their experience and how terrible it was and what was done to them, I was just like, I'm done. Like, and the fact that they were like a 16-year-old high school student
that's
too,
horrific.
and all these people piled on them. It got to the point where eventually they one day just replaced their fic with the script from the B movie, and then deleted it.
That's amazing.
And I talked to them, and I was like, "So, what is your experience now?" And they're like, "I don't do fandom anymore." Like, they're out. Like, they're done for life.
That's terrifying.
And I was just like, oh. And it was such an upsetting experience, like, just for me to hear about, because, like, fandom is such a wonderful part of my life for me, and the idea of being chased out like that is just so upsetting.
This is what's so scary about the internet and social media, is that when someone turns on you, everyone can turn on you, and then it's just like attack. So was it a lot of just like abuse he was receiving? It was
a lot. It was what happened. The main part was that in between seasons, some new information was revealed about the character that they hadn't incorporated into their fic, obviously because it was written years prior. And then they started getting all kinds of accusations because of it, like, you know, like, you're racist, you're this, like, all of this kind of stuff. And then also, as the fic goes on, people started to get more and more expectations of, like, it needs to end like this and it needs to happen like that, and then it didn't. And so upsetting. It was a whole thing, and I was like, this is the other side of the sword. This is the negative side. This is the side where it can get really ugly.
That's why I like, at the moment, I'm really into alternate universe fanfics, where it's like, you know what, I get that feeling when I'm reading, like, the canon fic, and I know it's happened, and I know what's supposed to happen, but maybe it's an old fic and they didn't incorporate the new stuff, and I'm like, okay, I don't like this because it didn't go the way it's supposed to go. So I've been reading a lot of alternate universe ones where it's like easier to, I find it more enjoyable to read because I don't have to think about the rest of the show. It's like a disconnect from the TV show. It's like its own separate entity. That's what I enjoy at the moment. But again, like, I do understand, because I can also be one of those people where I get to the end, I'm like, okay.
How dark do you get with your, like, how dark will you go?
I like dark because I always thought it was like a weird part of me where I'm like, I like to go dark just so for someone to have this redeeming story where they get out the other side. So I will go quite dark. I'll read everything. And
same.
Yeah, so I'll like, but I don't know how deep to go, you know?
I had an intriguing conversation once where someone was like, I block all of these tags because I hate them. And I was like, I don't block anything.
No.
I was like, I actually sometimes don't even read tags. If there was an option to turn tags off, I would.
Oh.
I would, because I don't need to know. And sometimes the tags spoil things, and that always upsets me.
Yeah, it does spoil things. I've noticed that a lot because I'm on, I generally read fanfic.net, but now that I know what went down, maybe not so much now. But yeah, it will always be spoiler, like Riverdale, again, example, will be like, Cheryl, Tony, breakup, Cheryl, Tony, rape. But yeah, it's hard to say, like, I like violence, or I like when someone dies, like, because it's dark, like, I don't want to, like...
Oh, I'll go there.
Yeah, like, I find it weird to find enjoyment in that, but I do when there's a redeeming, like...
It's a different type of enjoyment.
Yeah,
there's different ways to enjoy fics, and you're getting different things out of it. And like I always talk about on my channel, it doesn't necessarily reflect. There's this very big fear that some of the new fans have that if I read this, there's something wrong with me, and it means that I'm like this dark, horrible person. It's like, no, it's just an exploration. Also, it's a narrative, a story.
Yeah.
There's that level of separation that can make fandom a really safe space. And I'm a really big fan of keeping in a narrative space where you can tell all these different types of stories in a very kind of enclosed environment.
See, that's how I used to feel was when I was younger and I was getting into fanfic the first time, was that I was like, I think there's something wrong with me because I'm enjoying this and it's a little dark. Like, I actually remember reading when I was obsessed with One Tree Hill, I was reading one and it was like a storyline because I was very much a shipper of... Did you watch it, the show?
Part of it.
Okay.
For the memes.
Brooke and Peyton. I was like, I want them to be together. They're best friends. Like, never gonna happen. But yeah, there was like a fanfic where it was like, Brooke was raped and then Peyton was there for her. And I was like, oh, I love this, but someone's going to attack them and beat the shit out of them. But they're going to get together. And then Peyton's there for her. And I was like, why do I love this story? Is there something wrong with me? Do I find like enjoyment in someone getting attacked or abused or violence? And it's like, no, I just like feeling something. I think that's what it is. It's like watching a film when that happens. No, I don't enjoy seeing someone hurt or attacked, but there's like, it's making me feel closer to that. I don't know. It's like I feel connected to the character, and it's hard to explain.
I love the exploration of different concepts.
Yeah.
And there are people who can bring some really unique and different perspectives to them. And I think that can be a really rewarding reading experience if you let it be and if you want it to be. And that's one of the great things about being able to exclude. If you don't, you can just block it out. But if you do, it's there for you too. And I think that it needs to remain there.
That's a good point. Oh, I'm going to get to another question from fans. Oh, someone with a really long username. Ooh. Albert. Let's just go with Albert. What's your favorite animal?
It's so off topic.
It's so off topic, but I just had to bring it up. We'll connect it somehow to shipping.
Animal transformation fic. No, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a person who tends to have like favorites, like a favorite color, a favorite animal, a favorite film.
What animals do you like at this current moment?
At this current moment. Well, cats.
Because Bucky's here.
It's like, what animal can I see?
Yeah. A cat. Hello, saying that. Oh, no, he's right. Oh, he hears you.
Oh, he's
yes, looking.
I'm a cat.
Yeah, I thought that was an odd question. It was just clearly someone that was like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm going to ask
I want to ask a question. I have animal transformation fics where people get turned into cats. It's very popular. The person gets turned into a cat, and then their love interest has to look after them and doesn't realize they're a cat. And so it's all like, oh, wow, I really love this cat. I'm going to tell this cat my secrets, one of which is that I love this person who happens to be this cat.
Oh, my God. I love that so much. It's so wrong, but so right.
And then they normally transform back at an opportune moment, like, and then it's like, oh, my God, you were the cat the whole time.
I love that. Speaking of transformative transformations in fanfic, the one back to Lost Girl, because this is everything weird happened in Lost Girl. I read a fanfic where Tamsin transformed into a man, and then Bo was really into it, and then they just continued their relationship like it was normal, and then she transformed back into a woman. But I feel like I've read a lot of fanfics like that, or like I stumble across a lot of stuff like that. And I've also recently, Kelly can confirm this, I've been reading a lot of fanfics where it will be like, again, Riverdale, it'll be like Cheryl and Tony, they're getting it on, and then Tony whips out her penis, and I'm like, I didn't know this was happening. When did she get that? I'm like, I'm all for it, I keep reading, but it's always a shock to me when I'm like, oh, is that what's happening in the show now? Do you find you stumble across those?
I find that I'm so far in that nothing shocks me
anymore. Okay, good to know.
What shocks me is when I go and there's nothing. Like, I'm like, okay, like everybody must be, and there's nothing. There's not even a section. Nobody cares. And I'm like, really? Just me? All right.
Oh my God.
Like, that's fine, I guess.
Yeah.
They're all missing out.
So what was the last fanfic that you read?
The last fanfic that I read was an Ineffable Husbands one. Okay. I read it last night.
Oh, so soon. To be fair, I read a fanfic this morning, on the train. What was the last one that you read and then you were sad when it ended?
There's one that I reread all of the time. It's a Watchmen fic, and it's a continuation of it, but I think really tastefully done, where Adrian's plan falls apart and the world just collapses, but he's still there, and he has to humble himself and work with the rebellion to rebuild what's left. And I read it over and over again. Like every few months I'll read it, and then at the end I'll be like, I'm sad that this is over and it didn't happen. Do you prefer fan fiction where it's more, like you said, like a continuation of a story or a retelling of a story, or do you prefer it when it's more focused on a ship? I like all of it. I think it just, one thing I do actually wish is that I wish there was more Gen. I really enjoy Gen fiction, and there used to be a lot more back in the day. I mean, really far back, like when it first started, like Star Trek. There was a lot more Gen stuff, but there tends to be a bit less now.
Okay.
And I love shipping, and I love ships, but sometimes it's cool to just read a story of someone who's like, yeah, I'm just continuing or branching off of the show or the book or something, and that can be really fun too.
Yeah, because it's interesting. I feel like any fanfic site I go on now, it's just focused on a ship or a ship people want. It's hard to find, well, at least for me, but to be honest, I'm never really searching for it. I'm just searching for ships. But yeah, it's never really a retelling of a story. It's just...
You can find a decent amount of Jen in the Guardians of the Galaxy fandom.
Oh, really?
They're a big Jen bunch. Like, it's more Jen, in fact.
Oh, but I feel like, of course they would be like that. That's so
Team
sweet.
is family. That's
Yeah.
that's the tag over there.
Team is family.
Yeah.
That's adorable.
I honestly think, and this is going to sound so pretentious and it's not intended to be, but I think it's important to have conversations like this because there is still very much that perception that fangirls, which very much doesn't only apply to girls,
No,
but
not at all.
that we're crazy, you know, that we're
Yes.
insane. There's something wrong with us. We're
Yeah.
obsessed. So I think it's important to see that, no, like this is a hobby and a thing that we enjoy and it's part of us, but not the whole part.
Yeah, exactly.
You
It's, I
know?
mean, like, I like to think I'm, average working gal.
Then the thing is that people who are obsessed, that's not the only thing they'll get obsessive about.
Oh, no.
So it's a fallacy to equate the two.
Yeah, of course. It's like I'm obsessed with something every other day. Like, and yeah, I love reading fanfic, but I'm also like love to read a novel. Like, it's not.
There's more
normal thing.
multifacetedness going
Yeah.
on there. And I think that some people are, this is a new sentiment that I'm encountering now where people are afraid to ship. They're like, I'm afraid. They're like, I like this pairing, and because of who it is or what it is, I think it makes me a bad person, so I'm just not going to ship it. And like, they're afraid to dive in to this
Yeah.
world. And I think that's always such a shame.
That is a shame.
To miss out on all of this because you're so worried about this perception that there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, there's nothing wrong with you. I'm gonna look at the camera. There's nothing wrong with you.
She means it. She's looking right at you. No, there isn't anything wrong with you. My only criticism of fan fiction is there's just not enough shony fan fiction. That's what I'll say to all you shony writers out there, is that I've gone through the fanfic website 10 times recently, and there's still only 8 pages of shony. I've read every single one. Can you read?
You're doing a lot better than a lot of ships, though, with 8 pages.
Wait, is 8 pages a lot?
It can be, depending on what you're shipping.
I mean, it just annoys me. Also, like, can you write more than one chapter, please? Like, I like between 10 to 15. I like a well hashed out story. My favorite one, I'm currently reading a shony fic where they like go on a boat and sail away together, and it's like the best thing ever. It's just them on a boat, like nothing really of importance. They're just on a boat. Like that's the dream. That's all the fanfic I want.
I love trash fandoms. This is like, that's a bad way to put it, but it's just where the film or the book or there's something is bad. It's
Okay.
bad, but the fandom's great because of it. Because they know it's bad, but they're happy to be there anyway.
So like fandoms like of like Dark Phoenix.
Or Jupiter Ascending. That's one of my favorites.
That's trash. That's real trash.
Jupiter Ascending fandom is great. They've got headcanons. They've got fics. It's so good.
Oh my god.
Okay, like the headcanon that the reason that Balaam speaks that way with that like affected, raspy voice is because Channing Tatum's character ripped his like vocal cords out, and he was the person who like bit him. And I'm like, look at all this effort for this trash film.
Trash film. Oh
I
my
love it.
god. That's amazing. Although I probably could, I would never. I can't.
I love
can't.
Jupiter Ascending. It's a hot mess.
But you're also someone that loves Batman versus Superman.
And it's a hot mess.
Have you read fan fiction for that?
There's so much good fan fiction in that fandom. It's actually so much better than the movie. They fix one of my favorite fics ever is a cross-universe fic where Sad Fleck, you know, like Sad Ben Affleck,
Oh, yes.
gets sucked into the comic verse and sees how much better his comic counterpart's life is, like
God.
with friends and sidekicks and all kinds of stuff. And he's like, I could have this. So like he goes back to his reality and starts trying to work to build the Justice League. There's also a really short one that's fantastic that like diverts away from any of the other stuff happening, where he figures out that Superman is Clark really early, and he's like, I'm gonna show him. So he books an interview with him, and he's
Oh
like,
my
I'm gonna
God.
show him up in this interview, and he gets up and he punches him in the face. But in this fic, Clark wears his gold ring, which takes his powers away. So he just straight up knocks him out. He just spends the rest of the fic being like, oh shit, like he wasn't actually Superman. Oh my god.
That's so crazy. That's amazing.
Like there were so many good fics.
That's one I want to read. I love Sad Flick.
Sad Flick is best flick.
So good.
No, but that's the thing too, is that it can be bad and you can still find lots of enjoyment in it.
That's amazing.
While acknowledging that it's bad.
Yes.
Like you don't need to defend it and be like, no, it's actually a masterpiece. It's like, no, it's hot trash, but I love it anyway.
It's like having like guilty pleasure films. Like
I have no guilt.
You have no guilt for anything. You'll freely admit when you love something, which concerns me. Is there a fandom that you've been a part of that is like you've hated it or you've been scared from it?
I don't hate this fandom. I love it very dearly, but it's one where the things that people say about it are true, and it's very irritating to be reminded of it. And that's the Star Trek fandom.
Oh god. Okay.
And god, I love them. But there's this thing about how we're very pedantic about canon.
Okay.
And oh god, is it true? Whenever I do a video on it, I'm reminded, and I'm like, guys, I love you all, but why are we like this?
Oh my god.
Why? Because I've caught myself doing it in my head, but I just keep it there and I don't put it out into the world. But I've caught myself being like, an episode like this happened, and be like all of that.
Yeah, actually, I know I've never watched Star Trek ever. But I've known people who've watched Star Trek and they do that.
We're all like that. Yeah.
Why?
I think because Star Trek is historically so canon focused and works so hard to incorporate even things that don't matter into the canon. Like a great example of this is how the Klingons look in TOS to how they look in TNG, which is in TOS they're just people in brownface and they have mustaches on and they're supposed to be like Mongols.
Yeah.
And then in TNG they have a budget and they do like the ridges and all kinds of stuff to actually make them look like aliens. And any other series would have just been like, we have a budget now. But they wrote a whole backstory. They're like, actually, it's because these other Klingons were diseased. And so they couldn't grow forehead ridges. And they're a different sect. And so it's a whole thing. So there's a whole backstory to it. You're looking at me with that look.
Yeah, look.
It's the Trekkie look. I know the look well.
I've got the Trekkie look.
that look of like, oh god, like, abort.
I'm like, why did I ask the question?
Exactly.
It's like, I wish I could go back.
That's the other thing, is that once we start, we can't stop because it's like, oh god, someone asked you.
Oh my god. Okay, well, I'm gonna jump in before you continue. So before we end, what projects you have coming up in the future, or anything exciting, anything different that's not on your channel, or
anything different and exciting? Actually, yes, surprisingly.
Okay.
I am starting a new channel called Casually Comics, where we're gonna dive into casual comic reviews. I'm continuing my creed of the idea that fandom is for everyone and you can jump in at any time. And I find that when I do comic videos and shipping videos, people can be very intimidated, especially with comics, because there is so much backstory and lore. So I just thought, you know what? Let's have fun with it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's exciting. This is the first time I'm hearing of it. We'll talk about this later. That's really exciting. That's good. Well, on that note, I think we'll start wrapping this up. Thank you for joining me on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's always fun to actually have someone who wants to talk about shipping.
I love to talk about shipping. It's my favorite thing. If I could talk about shipping all day, I would. Like, I think I'd bore Kelly with how much I love to talk about shipping. Is that correct?
That's the silence of incrimination.
The silence. Thank you, Kelly, for your input. And thank you, everyone that's watched. And I will see you in the next video.
Bye. I waved again.
Bye. She waved.